Hey guys, this is another episode of Portable Magic. Today I was going to talk about the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I have heard from several different people that this book was amazing. Boogie2988 recommended it, as well as Dan Avidan from the Game Grumps. The book turned out to be extremely good. I enjoyed every last bit of it. Some of it was a bit strange. It's a book about not exactly not giving a fuck, because that's not true. It's actually different than what the title suggests. It's not telling you not to give a fuck. It's telling you to choose the fucks that you give, that life is too short to complain and to think too much about certain things. Pretty much, the book's trying to teach you that a lot of the things that we think about on a daily basis is actually hindering our happiness, like trying way too hard to be positive and trying way too hard to be successful, and jealousy and I'm amazing, and the over positivity is actually causing a problem with the way we think about things. And I can agree with that 100%. Mark Manson was talking about how we try so hard in our lives to be amazing people, to do everything right the first time, to be successful, to be greater and better than the next person. And while success is something that you should reach for, it's not something that is going to be the thing that makes you happy. Do you know what I mean? The entire life, everything in your life is going to be completely based off of how you think. So if you tell yourself, I'm not special, my problems are not special, I'm just like everyone else, it kind of lowers your expectations a little bit to where you're not trying to focus on being amazing. Because there are so many people in the world that you being the one person that comes out on top is extremely low. It's like everyone's trying to be the number one YouTuber. That's what life is. You're trying to be the number one in something, and sometimes that's just not something that we can do. And we just need to calm down and think, as long as we're happy with ourselves and we do the things that we want with our lives, even if it's just getting out of bed every day, that can be enough to make you happy. And he's not saying that you can't strive to do great things. It's just easier and probably better for your mental health in the long run to try and not let that be the end goal. Like, if you die tomorrow and you're not the next Elvis Presley or the next Gandhi, then it's okay. You just have to think differently. And this is a self-help book that I actually recommend to a lot of people. It is a self-help book in the most literal sense of it. It says that you need to help yourself, that nobody else is gonna help you. And while that is kind of true, I mean, you will find good people that are willing to help, but you shouldn't rely on it. And this book is going to be very controversial, because there are some people who don't agree with some of the things he says. I do. Personally, I agree with it. There's parts where he talks about how schools now are just giving out gold trophies just for attending class. And while that's great that you went to class and you should keep doing that, it shouldn't be something that's recognized as like an amazing feat just because you did something that you should already be doing. Let's give an example of some of the things he says. Who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for, and that's true. Really enjoyed some of the things that he's talked about in this, because that is all success is struggling. So if you want to be happy, then you're gonna have to struggle for it. It's not gonna come easy, and not everybody believes. He just puts things very bluntly. Like, it's a nice blunt book that teaches you each thing. Like, life is essentially an endless series of problems. The solution to one problem is merely the creation of another. And I like that quote a lot, because that is also true. It's just like when you read a book. Every time somebody makes a decision, that thing escalates into a new problem that you have to overcome. If life didn't have problems, it really wouldn't be worth living. And he talks about the other things that people try to avoid. If something threatens your identity, you're going to avoid it more. And that's true too. If you tell yourself that you're a caring, thoughtful, generous person, and then somebody asks you to help them move and you can't, or you just really don't want to, you personally just don't want to, has nothing to do with them, has nothing to do with your situation or anything, maybe you just aren't up for it that day. Because you tell yourself that you're an amazing, thoughtful, generous person, you don't know how to handle the situation of telling somebody that you don't want to help them move. Like, you think that you have to, and if you don't, you're a terrible person, and you're just blah, you're the worst thing that God's ever created, and that's not a healthy mindset. He talks about different things to help create more happiness, and one of them is to not know yourself, not figure out who you are, because the less certain you are about something in yourself, the more you're willing to try new things and to expand your horizons and go out and do new things, because maybe you aren't that nice, generous, caring person that you thought you were before. Like, maybe you find out that you really like robbing banks. I'm not saying you should, but I'm saying if you don't know that your happiness might come from something that you kept telling yourself you don't want to do. And he also talks about something that I'm actually personally doing myself, which is that you don't wait for motivation, you just have to do it. So if you want to write a book, if you want to sing professionally, if you want to be a good skier, you don't just wait until you feel like doing it. You just go and do it. Even if you have to just start a little bit each day, just do it. Don't give a fuck about failing. Don't care if you think that you aren't going to be good at it. If it's something you want to do, you just got to do it. But honestly, I could go on and on about all the different points that he makes in this book, and they're pretty much all good points. There's here and there, he says some things that are just a little strange, and it's not really what he says, it's how he says it. The wording is very arrogant sometimes, but that's just a personal preference. Some people I've read haven't even noticed those things, and since this is a self-help book, it's kind of hard for me to go through every single thing he talks about, but pretty much he's just talking about how fix some of these pent-up horrible emotions that we all have. And again, it's not about not giving a fuck, it's about selective fucks. It's figuring out the things that are important to you and your values. And you just gotta break it down. You gotta keep asking yourself why over and over and over again. For each fuck you give, you have to ask yourself why over and over and over until you break it down into the tiny little reason that you are actually upset, and it's usually based off some kind of value that you have. And again, I could go on and on about this book, but it's best if you just read it. It's not a very long book. I mean, it's worth your money. I read it on Audible. I didn't read it, I listened to it on Audible. If you use like a YouTuber's code to get Audible, or even I think if you just use it in general, you get your 30 days free, and you can get a free book when you when you sign up for it. I actually think this one might be my recommendation for your Audible account. I'm not sponsored by Audible. I would like to be, but I'm not. And yeah, I would recommend this one as your first listen, because it's an easy listen. It's not that long, and it was very helpful for me at least, and maybe for you too. If you have a problem with like an arrogant sort of demeanor, then maybe some things might end up maybe rubbing you the wrong way. But if you can ignore those things, like I just skipped past that. I didn't skip past. I just listened past that. And it wasn't even that many times. It was a few times that he just said something that was like kind of weird. But you just had to open mind, really listen. I think this book could be very helpful for a lot of people. So anyway, I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Again, if you have a recommendation for a book you'd like me to talk about, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.